In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at inequalities. So inequalities are sort of like solutions, except for when we work with equations and solutions, those are more like x equals a number. So let's say x equals 2. X can only be 2. It can't be more than 2. It can't be less than 2. It can only be 2. Well, that's the difference. An inequality is a solution set. So we're given a number where it begins, but then all the numbers either to the right or to the left are part of the solution set. So taking a look here at number 1, I have x is, now that says greater than or equal to 2. Now words are important when it comes to inequalities. They also could have said x is at least 2. That means the same thing as greater than or equal to, or a minimum of 2. But graphing is all the same. So equal to means it includes the 2. So we are going to draw a closed circle on 2. We call it closed because we colored it in. That represents that 2 is part of the solution. And now greater than would be to the right. So we're going to highlight the line and we're going to go all the way down and indicate that that arrow is also part of the solution set. Because not only are 4, 6, 8, 10, and all the numbers in between, like 7 or 8.2 or any of those fractions are all part of the solution set, but it goes on. So like 25 is also part of our solution set. We're just going to stop the graph here with the arrow. So taking a look at my next one, I have x is less than 817. So less than, under, below. But that does not include 817. So when I go to graph, I'm going to draw a circle around 817, but I'm not going to shade it in. That open circle, as we call it, represents this is where it starts, but it's not actually included. And less than would be to the left on the number line. So we're going to go ahead and highlight all the way over, and don't forget to include the arrow, showing that it goes on and on. So this graph is going to go a very long ways. Next, we have x is less than or equal to negative 91. So less than or equal to, we could have said at most negative 91. We could have said a minimum of negative 91. We could have said no more than negative 91. But they all start at negative 91. And it is equal to, so it's part of my solution set. So I'm going to go ahead and color that in. Less than goes to the left on the number line. And I'm going to go ahead and include the arrow. So one more, I have x is, well, let's say a minimum of negative 18. A minimum includes negative 18. It can be negative 18, but it has to be greater than. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight my number line to the right and remember to include the arrow. So when we're graphing inequalities, we need to figure out, okay, where do we start? What number is my starting point? Is that number included or not included? So be careful with your words. Is it part of my solution set? And then we highlight all the way to the right or all the way to the left. Don't forget to include the arrow. So just a couple points to remember. We use open circles for less than or greater than. And we use closed circles when it's less than or and equal to, or greater than or equal to. Remember, that means it's part of the solution set. We also have to be careful with how it is written. So sometimes, instead of saying x is less than negative 91, they might have changed something up. So let's say you had an inequality that was given to you as 4 is greater than x. Well, when I graph 4 is greater than x, I need to read it from x. So I'm going to start with x on the left. We're going to go and flip that over. And we're going to put 4 on the other side. But if we flip an inequality, we have to also reverse the symbol. So x is less than 4, which makes sense because 4 is bigger than x. That means x must be smaller than 4. So when we flip those over, make sure you also reverse the symbol. Let's just look at another one. If I have x is less than x, well, if I read it from x is less than x, let's flip it around and say, well, that means x is, well, it's not less than 6, it's greater than 6. So If you flip the numbers, you must reverse the symbol. And now let's take a quick look at writing. So now that you've seen graphs, what if they give you a graph and they want you to write the inequality? So I think on this one, what we'll do is we will not only give it as symbols using numbers, let's also use at least one word to help us out here, one scenario. So I look here, first thing I notice on my first one is it is colored in, right? It is a solid, so that means it's equal to. It starts with 1, so x goes to the right greater than or equal to 1. So another way I could say that is I'm looking for a solution set that is at least 1. Okay, let's look at the next one. Again, we're starting with 1, so I know I'm going to compare the variable to 1, but it's no longer included. That's what that open is. So we're going to say, well, that means that x is just greater than 1. But if we wanted to use words instead of just greater than or less than, they might say, well, maybe it's above 1. That doesn't include 1, it's just above it. Up next, I have still a 1, we're still comparing, but instead of greater than, this is less than. It is colored in, so it's closed, so it's equal to, it's part of the solution set. So x is less than or equal to 1. Let's use words that are not greater than or less than. So let's say no more than 1. That would be the same as less than. No more than 1. And the last one we're going to look at here, open circle compared to 1. So x is going towards the left, less than 1. And we can say then, I don't know, let's say it's below 1. So when we're writing an inequality, we're going to compare a variable. We've used x here, but of course any variable would work. It's about where does the number start. All of these started at 1. We had to determine, is 1 part of the solution, so is it equal to or not equal to? And then we need to determine, are we going to the right? Are we getting larger? Is it a greater than? Or are we moving to the left? Is it less than? So just a reminder on inequalities, graphing and writing. Don't forget open and close circles, important information when you are doing either one.